everybody, welcome back to the channel. What's going on? What's good? Hope everyone's well. I've been a little bit under the weather, so I was, scrolling through TikTok, dying in the plummets of my depression pit, aka my bed, and I came across this video. A few of the Pretty Little Liars cast got together recently. I think it was for Epicon or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right, and there was one video in particular that kind of really brought my attention. And in the video, Troyan, who played Spencer in the show, was speaking about what changes she would have made to the Alex Drake story. In the video, I'll play it for you now.
Yep. And would you have changed it if you could, or how do you feel about that?
Do you want me to start? I certainly had a ball. I wish that we had gotten to introduce Alex a lot earlier. My only frustration was that it felt like a total bait and switch because we waited until the very last episode. And so it wasn't as fun as I imagine for audience members as when it was like Cece Drake. It's like somebody who'd been there for so long that we'd like really gotten to know and could kind of understand the motivations behind them. Or like even when Keegan, when Toby got to be it's like you knew the character. And so when all of a sudden it had to like in an hour make sense and also close up all the storylines that everybody loved so much, that was the only thing I loved that I had the opportunity to do that, but I wish that we had just threaded it out a little bit more so that it didn't take away from what I think was really the more important storytelling points of the episode, of the finale.
She basically says that she would have liked to introduce Alex a bit earlier on into the show to give the audience some kind of connection to Alex, because Troyan literally hit the nail on the head in this video. And my issue with the whole Alex reveal was, who is she? Who is she? Clap if you care. We as an audience couldn't feel a connection to Alex because Alex has just shown up and we didn't really know who she was really. And like with Cece and with Mona, we had time to really experience their character, and a lot of people kind of grew not close to them, but was familiar in that aspect. So when it kind of came to the reveal, although the CC reveal I think was done quite bad because of how nothing really made sense, I think the overall concept of CC being A was something that was like, okay, wow. Do you know what I mean? So I then decided to sit down and to rewrite the Alex Drake story so that it's good. So that we can have some weight to it. Do you know what I mean? I've rewritten a few characters before and a few endings before. I rewrote Alison De Laurentiis, which was actually a really fun character to talk about because of her whole redemption arc. And then I actually rewrote the finales and what I would have changed. However, in the Alex Drake finale, I actually changed who A was. However, we're going to keep the concept that Alex Drake is A in this situation. And I'm not going to lie, everything I said about us knowing the character, I kind of go back on against myself here, but I also don't. I think it's an interesting way that, not to big myself up, everyone, not to, but I think this ending would have just had so much more darker tones to the story and a lot more kind of consequences, I think, for things that would have happened with this. I've kind of taken two pathways with this rewrite because there's one way I go which is a lot more darker than the other way, and I don't know if this is fully the theme of the darkness of the show, but I feel like we need to have some in there because the way that I go adds just a lot more. There's a lot more at stake here. Do you know what I mean? Compared to the actual Alex Drake reveal. But then the other way is a lot more softer. But I do prefer the darker tone but I just think there's a lot more consequence to it, and I don't know if Pretty Little Liars could handle that type of thing, but I really like it. So yeah, the Alex Drake thing to me felt very rushed and very kind of like, let's just do this twin thing. I think they were obsessed with having someone have a twin, and obviously at that stage Spencer kind of took center of the show. In the books, there's a twin situation which is kind of similar to the story that I'm about to tell. We're going to keep the twin thing for this. Okay, we're not going to change who A is. I would have liked a different A. I think in my rewrite, I think I said I would have made Ren A-D instead. I can't remember who I said, but nonetheless, we're going to keep Alex. To me, the whole thing felt very rushed, very like, let's just try and shock the audience type of thing. So therefore, I think Alex's story felt quite lackluster and quite like, I think it showed that even more when the girls didn't even have a reaction to it, and the rest of the lives were just kind of there and we're just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever that means. None of them really reacted to this happening, and I feel like that to me was the icing on the cake in terms of like, does anybody care about this? Because what on earth is going on here? My rewrite starts off in season 5, but we're not shown any of this, okay? We're not shown any of this until the reveal, but it takes place. This is when we introduce Alex. I think this is kind of similar time in the story where they actually do it anyway. So I don't mind this. So I actually introduced Alex in season 5, episode 1, when Cece goes off to Paris. She obviously goes, but then when she comes back, she meets Archer, and that's when they have their little fling, whatever. But however, before she goes back totally, she receives a phone call from Ren, who informs her that Spencer has a secret twin. So Cece is like, what on earth is this about? Do you know what I mean? So Cece goes to meet Alex and she's flabbergasted. She's like, oh my goodness. During this interaction, they find out that they're actually related through Mary Drake. Cece explains everything that she's been doing to the girls, you know, being A and things like that. Alex at this stage, she's not totally mentally there. Do you know what I mean? So she's very jealous. She's very jealous that Spencer has got to live this life and that Jessica took Alex away from Mary. So she's very mad. So she's like, you know what? Let me help. Let me do something that can help. So then this is when Cece and Alex come up with the dollhouse. And this is when the dollhouse starts kind of being built, being made. And Alex is kind of like Noel in this situation and is like helping Cece kind of form the dollhouse and things like that, just to kind of help Cece's kind of progression as A. And then this is where we see a scene, a flashback where Alex meets Noel in the dollhouse. Because my issue with Noel is that we're told that Noel helped in the dollhouse, but like why? And then also like we don't really see it, so I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna take that as a joke. Like I know they're being serious about it, but like let's like be serious for 1 minute. Do you know what I mean? I think it would have been cool to see Alex kind of interact with Noel and Noel finding out about Alex much earlier on, because although Noel is a really frustrating character to me, because I feel like he's like irrelevant, but like he's always in like the big stories. So for him to be like included in the Alex Drake situation would be another like thing of that. But I think it would tie in a lot with the whole like Cece being helped by him and like actually having some weight towards that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You know the scene where A like drugs the girls like on the way to prison and they're in their orange jumpsuits and A like drugs them and like takes them to the dollhouse. Now what if that A was actually Alex, right? Interesting. So Alex ends up taking the girls and puts them in the dollhouse for Cece, and throughout the entire time in the dollhouse she helps Cece with kind of the torturing and things like that. However, Alex takes real close attention to Spencer and becomes obsessed with her. Absolutely obsessed with her. She watches every pattern that she does, her routine, the way she acts, the way she moves, the way she talks, to kind of adopt that lifestyle. I remember there was a few scenes where Spencer was kind of kept awake by But what if it was she was being kept away by Alex because Alex needed to see like everything that Spencer did, and wanted to kind of keep her awake so she could adopt that lifestyle. Now, why would she need to do that? I'm hearing your questions, everyone. Why? Hear this out, and it's a little bit crazy, truly, and this is where it gets a bit dark for the show. But I feel like let's just do it. Like, what's stopping us? Like, let's just... Anyway, she does this and she becomes obsessed with Spencer's lifestyle because she actually replaces Spencer after the dollhouse. Yeah. So this means Spencer, every scene, every interaction, everything she lives after the dollhouse is actually Alex. Oh my goodness. So Alex is the one to escape with the liars. Alex, has the relationship with Toby, every interaction. It's all Alex. Everything is Alex. But at this point, the audience, we don't know. We still think it's Spencer. So we have no idea that this is actually a replacement. And I think that's really cool because the fact that the audience will not know that this major character has actually been replaced, I think is really, really cool. And I think it adds a lot to kind of the twin thing, and it holds more weight to it because when it eventually gets revealed, which I will get to, this whole time we kind of feel not... betrayed. I guess betrayed is the feeling to say, because this character who so many people love, so many people adore her, is not actually being her this whole time. And everything in front of our eyes that we will watch for like 2 seasons is a big fat lie. I think is such a cool thing to put the audience through, because then when it gets the reveal, it's like, oh my gosh, like everything has been a lie since the start. And this is what I like, because although we don't know Alex, we do, because this has been Alex for so long. But also it just adds a bit more weight to Alex's story. The fact that she's fully in it from about season 5, 6-ish. Yeah, season 5, 6-ish. But especially after the dollhouse, like she's in it and she's been there, she's done that. And I think it just adds much more of the evilness to what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Occasionally there would be hints through the show that like Spencer's acting a bit weird, like what's going on here? And the girls would sometimes be like, oh, like what is going on? Like, do you know what I mean? Maybe Spencer / Alex says something weird or just like out of character, and then we get that kind of feeling of like, Spencer's acting really weird. Do you know what? Like, just like occasional hints and clues and things like that, I think would really make us, on this journey with Alex a whole lot more. So then we get to the Cece reveal, and Cece actually doesn't mention anything about Alex in my version, because she is going to kind of pass the baton down to Alex type of thing. So they all find out together, and when they're in their little like sci-fi room, all the girls are there, it's actually Alex watching this whole thing instead of Spencer. Cece doesn't mention anything because then obviously Cece gets like arrested and put into Radley. Oh no, not Radley. I can't remember the institution she gets put into. Welby, I think it is. They all go their separate ways. The girls, obviously, they have the time jump. However, in this time jump, we see that Alex still spies on the girls a lot of the time. She kind of becomes obsessed with the game, kind of like what we saw with like Cece being obsessed with the game when she learned about it from Mona. But she becomes obsessed with it. Obsessed. But she doesn't really become but she's keeping tabs on the girls and what they're doing and things like that. She's still kind of enraged that Cece is kind of away and not with her and still not being able to live the life that Spencer lived type of thing. So yeah, in this 5 years, she's obsessed. She's obsessed with taking the game, and she's waiting for the right moment for her to actually become and kind of rebuild on what Cece had but couldn't like finish. Do you know what I mean? So this is when she kind of builds the board game from inspiration of the Dollhouse, the Liar's Torment, and things like that. Oh my god, I think it's so cool. And then the moment comes. Obviously, when Allison wants to get Cece out, she brings all the girls together. So Alex is like, right, perfect, because we're all together again and we're all in like one place, and now I can become A again. Then we go to the night that Cece died, because the next day Alex was planning to become A and kind of release the first set of texts. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. The night Cece died, obviously Cece went to the church where she ended up dying. However, before that, we see Alex / Spencer go into the church. Now, who sees this? Who sees Alex / Spencer going into the church? Ezra and Arya. And Arya will continue to bring this up multiple times throughout the rest of the series. Like, why were you there that night? You know, to Spencer. And then Spencer becomes like in the frame for like Cece's murder. Anyway, so they go inside the church and we see through flashbacks that, oh, by the way, I'm reiterating at this point, we do not know that this is Alex, okay? We still don't know that this is still Spencer in our eyes. We don't know that she's been replaced. So Alex goes to Cece and Alex tells Cece about this game that she's about to do. She's about to become A again and she wants to continue what Cece had, and she's like, are you going to help me? So then Cece and her kind of have a little bit of a spat, because Cece's like, you know what? You got to stop, because the game can be dangerous and it can be really addicting. You got to stop this. So then her and Cece end up having like a bit of a spat, a bit of an argument. So then Alex storms out of the church with Cece following her, and Arya and Ezra are still watching. And they have a little bit of back and forth still, but then they end up being like, look, we're literally sisters, like, let's not argue, let's make up. So then they end up making up and they hug, and Arya and Ezra are like, that's suspicious. That's weird. Arya will continue to bring this up through the rest of the show when Spencer / Alex kind of goes into the frame for Cece's murder. Anyway, then obviously Mona ends up killing Cece. Blah. And then the next day, Alex is so enraged that Cece has been killed. That's when she starts the A messages about, you know, one of you know who's done it, you know, confess type of thing. And her whole thing is like she wants revenge for Cece's murder. Like I said, Alex kind of takes inspiration from the Dollhouse and builds the Liar's Torment. I feel like, you know, the Liar's Torment board game, I feel like the concept for that was there, but I think they never really I think we could have done more with the board game. Do you know what I mean? Through this board game, you know, we put the girls through a lot of stuff. A lot of secrets get spilled. They go through a lot of things. They're really going through it with this board game. And obviously, Alex has to do stuff for herself as well. So she makes herself go through a lot of things so it doesn't look obvious that she's not actually Spencer. Then obviously, Alex kidnaps Hannah and we have this whole... I don't think it was a dream sequence, but you know when like Spencer was like visiting Hannah, and that's kind of when we all knew that she had a twin, because like she didn't have her bangs or whatever. That happens, but it's actually Alex offering, you know, wisdom and whatever towards Hannah. Overall, like, she keeps living Spencer's life. And in season 7, episode 10, where Mary Drake gets revealed as Spencer's mom, in this I've rewritten it. So Alex goes to the blind house with the girls, where obviously Noel and Jenna are like trying to kill them, whatever, but she's actually paid Jenna to shoot Spencer, but obviously she was like dressed in her black hood, so Jenna doesn't know who paid her to do it. And obviously she used her British accent. So there's no indication when Alex told Jenna this, that she was, you know, living Spencer's life, whatever. Jenna ends up shooting Spencer / Alex, and that's when we have the whole reveal, but like Spencer / Alex already kind of knows type of thing. And then in hospital later on, we'll get given a flashback where Alex is in the hospital bed, Mary is kind of by her bedside. They kind of confess everything to each other. So Mary tells her everything that happened with Jessica and that she killed Jessica and things like that. However, Alex kind of spills her own beans. Oh, that's a very British way of saying it. Let me take that back. Spencer / Alex spills her guts, as Olivia Rodrigo would say. She confesses everything as well, and that she's Alex and that something happened to Spencer. I'm not going to say what happened yet, because where has Spencer been this whole time? Anyway, so then obviously Mary kind of wants to protect Alex. So she decides not to say anything and kind of help her here and there with some things, and yeah, but she wants to protect Alex most importantly. So then we get to the reveal. And one major issue with the reveal of the whole Alex Drake thing for me is that, like, none of the other girls were involved. And I understand it was Spencer's story. I totally get it. But I really like when the girls find out who A is together. I think that's the whole point of the show. A is going for all of the girls. So the fact that, like, we're only seeing, like, one person react to it was really, like, not upsetting, it wasn't that deep, come on now. Disappointing. But also, like, when the girls saw Alex at the end, you know, when there's like two Spencers and they have to shoot the right one, whatever, arrest the right one, whatever, like, it was like none of the girls cared. And I'm like, come on now, like, what's going on? In my reveal, we're involving all of the girls, okay? One by one, Alex drugs them. She pretends to be Spencer and she drugs them and takes them back to the dollhouse. Interesting. We're back in the dollhouse where everything started for Alex. We see them, they're just in an empty room for now. I was thinking about this. Maybe I would have put them in Spencer's bedroom in this scene, you know, in the dollhouse. I'm not too sure. So this could change and it's up for interpretation. But for now, I picture this just in like a little like cell in the dollhouse type of thing, and they're all chained to the wall, and they're back in their orange jumpsuits, right? They're back in there. But however, when they wake up, there's only 3 of them, because where is Spencer? Interesting. Where's Spencer gone? But then A is like standing like back to wall, like back against them. You know how like Cece was standing in the Allison like reveal when that happened, and they're all like, where's Spencer? And Alex turns around and she's like, Spencer, that's a good one, in her British accent. And they're all like, what on earth is going on here? And this is when the penny drops, okay? This is when everything changes and the entire show really takes like a hit. A good hit. A dramatic hit. An important hit. This is when my theory goes to kind of ways. We have one which is a lot more darker, and we have one which is a lot less darker. But I think it's still dark. Like, it's definitely a lot. Yeah, it's dark. Let me not play around. It's dark, guys. But it's just like, I don't know. The other one is very intense, but like, I love it. And I think like it really shows like the stakes for the show. So I kind of love it. But anyway, obviously Alex reveals to the girls that she has been Spencer since the dollhouse. Every conversation they've had, every secret they've told her, everything that Spencer has lived since the dollhouse has been Alex. And they're all like, they're all flabbergasted. Even the audience, because this is the first time that we're finding out that this is not Spencer as well. So when the penny drops that it's literally been Alex this whole time, us as an audience is like, what the hell? This whole time from the dollhouse, it's been someone else and we don't know, and it's kind of like right under our nose. I think is so cool. I played this story game once called Heavy Rain, and it's kind of like about a serial killer and you have to like find out who it is, and you play 3 characters in this story. So like the story shifts from character to character, and the serial killer ends up being one of the characters that you play, but you don't know it. And I feel like it's that type of thing. It's like this whole time one of the girls has kind of been A, and it's Spencer's not been Spencer. The girls haven't been complete since the dollhouse, but like we haven't known about it. I think that's really cool. I'm sorry, like right under our noses this whole time. I think that just adds so much more stake to the show, and so much more, I don't know, it just adds so much more fire to the show and a lot more darkness to the show, I think. And especially as the last kind of reveal for the show, like this is intense. Do you know what I mean? And really, like, you know, it all comes down to this, and this is like the end of like what we've known. So then obviously Alex continues to explain everything that I've spoken about, her working with Cece, meeting Cece, working with Noel, building the dollhouse, working in the dollhouse. Everything gets explained, and that's when we see everything that I've explained through flashbacks, and this is when we learn about everything for the first time. I just think it ties her into the story so much more. And although I kind of go against the thing of like knowing Alex, and that's why we feel shocked about it, we kind of know Alex, but we don't. We know this version of Alex, and the version of Alex which is so sinister that she's taken over Spencer's life for the past 2 seasons and we've not known about it, I think is really, really cool. And I just think tying her all the way back in to season 5 in such a big part is so good at just like bringing it back and involving the story much more earlier. And I really, really like it. Sorry, not to boost my own ego. Especially like every friendship she had, every interaction she had, her relationship with her parents, her relationship with Toby, with the girls and other characters. Everything has been a lie. We've literally been lied to for like 2 seasons. But I think that sense of betrayal is exactly what we're looking for in a reveal. That's why like most people wanted like Arya to be A, because we want that sense of betrayal. Because having Alex there, it was kind of like, okay, well, but to have someone who's literally taken over one of the main characters' lives, I'm sorry. That would have been so cool. Although we're only just meeting her, she's actually been on our screens for so long, and for a character that many people kind of fell in love with and could really connect with. You know, I think that sense of betrayal would very much be there. And do you know what I mean? So yeah, this is when I explain my 2 different routes. Because the dark route that I'm going to go for is that Spencer was actually killed in the dollhouse in season 5 by Alex. The way I would have done it, Spencer would have been asleep in her like room in the dollhouse. Alex would have been by her bedside. Spencer would have woken up and would have been like, what? Oh my gosh, like what is going on here? And Alex explains the situation. And then Spencer gets really riled up, really angry. They end up having a big argument. And then we actually see a scene where Arya hears this arguing, but doesn't know who this argument is. So this is when Arya's like, I heard it. So then Alex gets really angry and ends up killing Spencer right there. Even darker. Guys, I don't know if this is my mind. Okay, I don't know. To add even a more darker and sinister tone, Alex would have buried her where Bethany / Allison was buried after they had redug up the body, after Allison came back. So that's the dark route. Listen, I don't think people would have been happy with it because they wouldn't have liked Spencer to have been killed off. But I think for the sake of the show, it would have added so much more like, she's been dead this whole time and the audience have not been able to grieve her because we didn't know that she's dead. And the implications this would have, a main character, specifically a liar, dying in this way, like the implications this has is so dark and sinister, but like I kind of love it. I kind of like the idea of it. It's kind of like with the books, when like Allison and Courtney, that whole situation, it's kind of similar to the books in that aspect, and that's why I really enjoyed the books. So I think this takes a similar pathway to that, and I just think it adds so much more tension because she's been gone this whole time and we do not know. So we've not been able to grieve her, and this is when her friends find out and they're all devastated and they're in tears and crying because they've not had the chance to say goodbye to their best friend. Or we can go down the route, which is still very dark, not my personal favorite, but if we want to keep her alive, we can just say that she has been in the dollhouse, taken hostage still this entire time for like 2 seasons and like 5 years throughout the entire time jump. But the reason why I wouldn't have liked this is because I would have liked to have explored Spencer's kind of PTSD from it, but we wouldn't have been able to because the show was ending. So I wouldn't have want to left it kind of open to, we still have a lot of story to explore. I feel like with Spencer being dead, although it's very sad and such a big thing for the show, her story's done there. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we don't really get to explore kind of the family reactions and the friend reactions and stuff. But I think Spencer's PTSD story with her still being alive would have been so much to explore and so much to do that I wouldn't have liked that to be left open. Mary ends up kind of ratting her daughter out because she wants to protect Alex and take her away from the game and make her kind of better and get her away from everything. So she ends up telling the police where Alex is and her whole plan with the liars. Alex decides to like unchain the girls and like takes them to Spencer's room. However, on the way there, previously when they were in the dollhouse, Hannah remembers a loose brick in the wall that she had hidden to use as a weapon. So she remembers it, and she like on her way there in the hallway, she takes it and she hits Alex, and they end up kind of running out of there, and they leave the same way they had left previously. And then we have a really dramatic chase in like the forest wooded area, right? This, guys, when I say tension is tensioning here, like it is so big here, everything's at stake. Dramatic music, it's all dark, the girls are running, they keep falling over, they're tripping over, that type of, you know, stereotypical chase that's in like a horror film, whatever. Alex is like chasing after them, she's being really creepy, and they're trying to get out of there. And then they come to a road and they see a car driving up to them, so they're like waving the car down, kind of like, you know, when Hannah came back from like when she was kidnapped and she like waved that down, and it was Mary Drake, similar to that. However, who gets out of the car once the girls reach the car? Ren, because Ren knew everything, and he was on his way to the dollhouse to kind of get Alex out of there and be like, look, this is too much now. Okay, Ren's still alive. Well, at this point anyway. They're all confused, like, Ren, what are you doing here? And Ren's quick, like, look, I know about Alex, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, and they hear like rustling behind them, and they're like, quick, get in the car. However, before they can get in the car, Alex comes out of like the wooded area with a gun and shoots Ren. So Ren's now dead. So Ren falls to the floor. They all freak out. They're like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They all have a little bit of a showdown. They're like, you don't need to do this. And like Alex just kind of creepy laughs at them. It's like, whatever. Like, blah, blah. They have a whole massive chat. You know, they're all exchanging words. They're like, we can go back and like say nothing happened and we can move on with our lives. You don't have to be in trouble, whatever. But Alex is like, and just like laughs them off. So then we have two options for this. If Spencer is still alive, Spencer comes out of the wooded area behind Alex and ends up hitting Alex and knocks her unconscious. And we kind of see the state that Spencer is in. She looks tired, she's exhausted, bags under her eyes, her hair's been cut short, very traumatized. She looks so rough and she's really been through it. And she kind of drops to her knees and she slowly looks up at the liars, and they all look at her, but like she's like lost. Like we look into her eyes and like Spencer is not here anymore, and she just looks devastated and so traumatized by everything. And this is truly when, as an audience, we're like, can anything ever be the same anymore? She kind of looks down at Alex as the police pull up and arrest Alex. But my second thing, if Spencer is dead, Toby ends up pulling up in a police car with Allison. Obviously, Toby's a police officer. He heard through his radio what was going on, so he went up there. Allison was with him when the radio went off, so she was like, I'm going with you type of thing. So then, yeah, Toby gets out, and Toby kind of looks at her kind of lost and in disbelief. Can I just say, sorry, this whole time Alex is wearing the black hood, by the way. Another issue I had with the finale was that we never saw Alex in the black hood. So like when the reveal happened, I was like, oh, like was that actually the reveal? Because like I didn't know, because like with Cece and Bona we saw them in the black hood and it was really effective, but with Alex Drake I didn't know if that was revealed or not because we never saw it. Anyway, so this whole time she's in the Black Hood, just to add to dramatic effect. Anyway, Toby tries to sympathize with Alex, and he's like, I understand, you know, try and get her to like warm up to him. But she ends up getting really mad and tries to shoot him. However, her gun jams, and this is when she laughs and she's like, damn. And she sees the police pulling up in the distance, and she tries to run away, but Toby kind of tackles her and gets her arrested that way. In that instance, the two things that I just told you, I do prefer the version 1 where Spencer's still alive. However, I prefer if Spencer did die, so we would have to take this route. I'd also keep the thing where, you know, like Mona kidnaps Mary and Alex and puts them in her own dollhouse. I would actually keep that because I did like that aspect of the show. I think it's very full circle, especially if we take this story for Alex, because everything with Alex started in the dollhouse, really. So it takes it back to kind of Alex's root here, but also it obviously is full circle with Mona kind of taking back the game at the end of the show. So I would actually keep this. Spencer's body is then dug up and she's given a proper funeral, and we see everyone kind of grieving her and coming together. The friends, the family, just the whole of Rosewood kind of in disbelief, but still coming together and grieving her together and giving her a proper memorial. I think that would be very healing for a lot of people, and a lot of people that Spencer was very close with. So yeah, we then, you know, at the end of the show when they're all like in that group and they're like walking, we kind of see them in that, but like they're talking about Spencer and like the memories they had and the good things and like smiling and laughing along and things like that. And that's obviously when we find out that Hannah is pregnant, and Arya and Ezra are planning to start a family, and Emily and Hannah are kind of going to stay in Rosewood to heal a lot of trauma, but also like start a family of their own. And then this is how I would end the show. Oh my god, this is like goosebumpy. Sorry. I would end the show. The camera kind of pans over the Hastings household. So the camera just slowly like kind of shows the inside of the Hastings household, but the outside as well, and in every bedroom and things like that. But it feels very empty. There's no light switched on. Everything's very empty, very dark, very dull in there. Whilst we're panning through the house and the different rooms and the outside and things like that, we have numerous voice lines that Spencer would have said in the show, and kind of her most iconic ones just kind of fading along together and kind of, you know, paying memorial, I guess, to Spencer's character and things like that. And then the camera fades out, and that's the end of the show. How cool is that, guys? Obviously, if Spencer stayed alive, I think I would have ended the show kind of the same as the TV show, but this is kind of why I don't like the way of going with Spencer surviving, just because there's so much I would have liked to explore with her trauma and her kind of coming to terms with everything. So I don't like to leave her story open. Yeah, this is my rewrite. I much prefer this, just tying Alex a bit more in, but adding so much more stake to the show with a main character dying like that, and then like the audience being lied to for 2 seasons is such a good way of doing it, because we feel betrayed when we find out that this has been Alex the entire time. We feel like, oh my god, we genuinely feel that gutting feeling in us, and it would be such an utter kind of betrayal, and just like, do you know what I mean? I think it would have been so cool, because although we don't know Alex, she's actually been on our screens for a lot longer than we think, and I just think it is a lot more like gut-wrenching, because the reveal is like, oh, but like this is the Spencer that we kind of fell in love with and is like my favorite character. She's not my favorite character, but that type of thing. But also just the more dark and sinister tone. I know it's very dark and sinister for Pretty Little Liars. However, the audience has the audience has grown up with the show, and a lot of people who started watching it when they were like 12 or 13, would now be a lot more older, and it's kind of you need to mature with your audience. Do you know what I mean? Because although the target audience of the show is like teenage girls, the audience has actually grown up with the show through the years, so we're a lot more older and we're a lot more mature. And I think to end a show like Pretty Little Liars, things need to be at stake and things need to be a lot darker. Yeah, I think this just adds that kind of feeling towards the show. I would not have actually had this as the actual ending. I would have had someone else be I will link down below. I rewrote the finales from my perspective on what I would have done. But this is just me kind of altering Alex's story so that it kind of not that it makes sense, but like kind of, but also just like to make it good, because like it just felt so lackluster. And so like, do you know what I mean? Like I was just so disappointing with it. So having this in such a gut-wrenching and like dark, sinister twist through the story, I think is so important for the show and important for developing the show and ending the show on such a dark tone that it's like, wow. Like I would have watched that episode and genuinely would have sat there in silence for like an hour, just being like, what on earth has like just happened here? You know, I would love to hear your opinion down below on this kind of rewrite. How would you rewrite the show? Would you change instances in my rewrite? And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.